The first race of the first ever E4 Spanish Winter Championship event had a challenging beginning, with an aborted start that led to the race being launched behind the safety car and with several minutes of neutralized running before things finally got underway. At that point, Jan Przyrowski, author of the first pole position of the year, showed his speed by leading the race with aplomb and showing why he is one of the main favorites to take the title this year. Behind him, however, the race was animated as usual, with fights all across the board, such as the duel between Hudson Swart and Ean Eyckmans just outside the podium. It wouldn't be the only one, however, as the hairpin, after the backstraight, proved as good an overtaking spot as ever, even between teammates. In many ways, for teams and drivers, the Spanish Winter Championship is sort of a pre-season event, where everyone works hard to find the best package for the regular season, which will start in spring. But one cannot take the racing out of a racing driver. And so fights continued raging on, despite the reduced amount of green flag time. In this sense, Nathan Tye was a great example, starting from 8th on the grid and climbing up throughout the race, reaching 4th place by the time the checkered flag came out. Behind the fight between teammates, Vivek Kanthan and Miguel Costa gave the fans an always welcome dose of excitement, even if the Campos racing team may have been a bit more concerned about the safety of the cars. Outside the top 10, Niklas Schaufler, recent signing of the Red Bull Junior team, was slicing through the field trying to recover positions at a quick pace, in a group marked by the narrow gaps between drivers. Unfortunately, a crash by Alexander Jacobi from Motorsport, who had already caused the first delay start, brought a late safety car. At the race restart, Jan Przyrowski defended the lead from an aggressive Thomas Strauven, who wanted to make use of any chance to try and challenge the Polish driver for the win. In the end, Przyrowski became the first winner of the season ahead of Strauven and Christopher Feghali, before an off from Sacha Van Pasvosh brought a red flag and thus the end of the race. By the time the afternoon came, the start of the sprint race was, on the other hand, a lot smoother, with René Lammers taking the lead of the race. The Dutchman was held in part by a less than stellar getaway by Niklas Schaufler, who fell to fourth by the time the pack left the first corner. With a reverse grid and a shorter race time, with 24 minutes plus 1 lap instead of 30 minutes plus 1 lap, the urgency to fight for position is always higher on sprint races, and drivers were giving everything they had under the watchful eyes of their teams from the pit wall. With somewhat stable positions, the race had to rely on the sparks of drivers such as Ean Eyckmans to add excitement, overtaking at the legendary hairpin, where so many moves have been completed over the years, both in 2 and 4 wheels in so many categories. Not all were so lucky, however, and the cold temperatures of the weekend made sure to challenge the drivers all the way until the checkered flag. Yanni Steven Haydens and Jan Przyrowski also gave a good show, with the Polish driver proving his mettle despite starting from further behind due to the rear's grid. He was a man on a mission. And he was determined to recover as many places as possible to score valuable points for the rather short Spanish Winter Championship, which consists of 3 events for a total of 9 races. At times attacking and at times defending, but it was clear that Przyrowski was feeling confident in his own speed and was looking to give the drivers at the front a run for their money. And the most populated group in the race did not disappoint, adding a much welcome dose of excitement over the last few laps. Steven Haydens, Eyckmans, Schwartz, Monteiro and Spina were fighting neck and neck for position, and it was a miracle that all of them were to complete the race. Such was the tight difference between all of them. Further back, drivers proved that you don't need to be fighting for points to have a reason to give it all. But naturally, most of the attention was focused on the drivers in the points-paying positions, Jan Przyrowski not least of all, showing a fantastic speed and making no difference between friend or foe as he went on about his business. At the front, René Lammers had this huge moment at the top of the hill and into the back straight as he drove by himself, but otherwise went unchallenged to claim his first win of the season ahead of Vivek Kanthan and Nathan Tye. This time around, it was a win for MP Motorsport, but there was still one race to go. The E4 Spanish Winter Championship features several female racers, such as the RT Grand Prix trio of Courtney Crone, Aurelia Nobles and Leah Block, as well as Emma Felbermeyer and Iva Anagnostiadis. They are not, however, the only interesting drivers to keep an eye on, as teams such as Campos Racing and MP Motorsport, in both their squads each, feature some of the highest rated young prospects in recent times. And it was on them that the last race of the weekend was counting to make sure that the first event of the season finished on a high. Once again, Jan Przyrowski was starting from pole position, and after seeing what he was capable of in the first race of the weekend, his rivals knew they'd better not let him run away, or he would just disappear into the distance. However, after 3 aborted starts, the drivers were eager to get on with the racing, and a crash at the start brought out the safety car. The race was soon restarted, with Christopher Feghali ending up stranded on track. After a second restart, Niklas Schaufler soon became another victim of a race contact. Another safety car period, and the clock found itself past the midway point with barely any green flag action. With the race now firmly underway, drivers were forced to act quickly if they wanted to improve their standings. In other words, the last race of the weekend became an absolute sprint to the finish line. It was every man and woman for themselves. This led to some drivers making opportunistic moves into the hairpin, like René Lammers, chasing a possible second podium finish of the weekend. Thomas Strauven too attempted the move on Andrej Petrovic, who was holding on to hope that he would be able to keep his position within the top 3. It was not to be, however, and the Belgian soon managed to get past him. The Technicar driver made a last-ditch effort to try and recover third place, but it did not work out for him. In fact, his attempt forced Strauven off the racing line, giving Lammers the chance to overtake them both. The Dutchman had the difficult task of keeping his rival behind, and he did so with confidence, protecting his position until the checkered flag, while the rest of the pack tried to settle their scores before the time ran out. Ahead of all of them, Jan Przyrowski continued his dominant run, leading the race with Vivek Kanthan in second place. But the race is never over until it's over, and so the fights raged on until the very last lap. And so Jan Przyrowski sealed his second win of the weekend, ahead of Vivek Kanthan, giving Campos a much-celebrated 1-2, with René Lammers rounding up the top 3 for MP Motorsport. In the championship standings, Jan Przyrowski leads with 63 points, a whole 23 more than René Lammers, while Vivek Kanthan is 3 points further afield, the same distance to Nathan Tye in 4th and also to Thomas Strauven in 5th place. In just a few days, the E4 Spanish Winter Championship will go back on track. It will be at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve for the second round of the season, with 3 more races that are sure to be filled with excitement before closing off the winter events in March, again in Spain.